Brother, it's not balanced. There's something deeply wrong with this fucking reset. Brother, they have too much HP.
The giant mushroom in the upper half went from 170k to doubling the... What the... Huh?
We've all seen it happen. A gacha game launches strong, great visuals, generous rewards, exciting characters, and a ton of potential. And for the first few months, or even the first year, things really do feel great. But then it starts, the slow creep of greed. Power creep begins to ramp up, older characters lose relevance, suddenly entire kits or important quality of life features are locked behind limited time characters, and before you know it, what once felt like a fun player-focused experience turned into a thinly veiled gash grab. We've seen this happen in games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Black Clover M, and more recently Infinity Nikki, where updates and character releases have sparked backlash for ignoring player feedback and making aggressive predatory changes. So today, I want to take a look at Wuthering Waves and examine whether it's showing early signs of falling into these same traps. From power creep to quality of life mechanics locked behind characters and concerns about future content, there's quite a bit to talk about. Let's start with one of the more subtle issues, quality of life features being locked behind specific characters. We all remember the backlash Genshin got for this, characters like Mavuika who can drive around on a motorcycle, Chaska that can fly around, and Ayaka who can basically walk over water. All of them added functional utility that made exploring the world easier, but unless you got lucky or swiped your card, you were left out of that experience. So, what is the situation in Wuthering Waves? So far, I haven't seen much discussion about this, but there's already several characters in WUBA that bring QOL advantages baked into their kits. Take Cantarella for an example, she can swim significantly faster than any of the other characters, and also at a very low rate of stamina consumption. Carlotta boosts flight stamina, letting you fly for longer, and then there's Phoebe, who can literally fly around on a broomstick at very high speeds. And those are just a few examples. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying this is an issue yet. In my conversations with friends and other players, the response has usually been, well, it's not that big of a deal, we can already fly around with general mechanics anyways. And I agree, for now it's not game breaking, but here's where my concern starts. The 3.0 region might not have flying at all, the same goes for the original 1.0 area, which still has no general flying mechanic. So what happens when new regions are built with more verticality or water traversal? And the only way to make that experience less tedious is by pulling for limited 5 stars who have traversal mechanics built into their kits. That's when it stops becoming harmless and it starts to look like intentional design, creating a problem and then selling you the solution. I think the simplest solution is to add these traversal options to the older areas and future regions by default. That way, if a character releases with a unique movement ability, it's a fun bonus, not a borderline paywall. And just to be clear, I'm not saying this to attack your favorite game, I'm saying this out of genuine concern because I love playing Wuthering Waves and I don't want it to go down the same road as some other games. Genshin Impact. To be fair, Wuthering Waves has seen improvements in a lot of ways. The story has gotten much better with each patch ever since 2.0, and Kuro Games has been steadily making meaningful QOL changes that make the game more enjoyable. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so we can hit 1,000 subs and drop a like on the video. It really helps more than you think. Next up, the power creep. I've actually talked about this about 2 months ago in a video, and back then things seemed completely fine. But recently, it feels like we're heading in a bad direction, and it's happening surprisingly fast. The main culprit, Wimpering Waves. Here's the problem. It's not just one thing, it's a combination of HP inflation, tokens that massively favor certain characters, and stat changes that make content harder for the majority of players. For an example, 2 of the strongest characters in Weibo right now, Gion and Camellia, are suddenly struggling in this mode. The highest score I've been able to get with them is about a B, even though these were previously tier 0 picks for clearing it without any issues. After digging into the numbers, here's what I found. 1 cost enemies HP increased from about 84,000 to 148,000, and the 3 cost enemies HP increased from about 328,000 to 410,000. Enemy resistances were also increased by about 10% across the board, and the result is that enemies feel way tankier, and some of the best characters for this mode can no longer clear it consistently, unless you pull for the latest limited unit or happen to own a character who got massive synergy buffs from certain overpowered tokens. That's a slippery slope, because when content gets turned around new characters instead of overall balance, you're not just encouraging pulls, you're making older rosters feel obsolete. And for anyone defending this, saying, well, I can clear it, or skill issue, maybe it's time for you to touch some grass, we're not talking about the 1% of players here, we're talking about the majority. You have to remember that a lot of people have spent hundreds of dollars to get these certain characters. If those characters suddenly can't clear content they used to handle with ease, then yeah, the game is screwing you over. Now, let's move on to the other endgame mode, Tower of Adversity. It's not quite as bad as Wimpering Waves yet, but it's showing early signs of going down the same path. The biggest red flag is the middle tower, where Kuro Games seems to be pushing very specific units. If you don't have them, the difficulty spike is noticeable. A couple of examples is when Zani came out, she got massive buffs in that mode. Then shortly after, we had the TOA release around Cardathia's banner, and she got so buffed that she could literally solo the stage with about 40 seconds left. That's not balanced gameplay, that's predatory design. It makes new units look overpowered, so you want to pull for them. You see content creators showcasing these insane runs, and you think, wow, this character is broken. But in reality, outside of that artificially boosted content, they're not nearly as strong as they appear. And lately, it's not just buffs. There's also been a wave of HP inflation here too. I don't have the exact numbers for this one, so I'll admit this is based off of feel, but it's noticeable. For an example, in the latest TOA middle tower, I went against the Sentry Construct boss using multiple strong teams, Emilia, Jian, and Zheng Liao. All of those characters in their parties had to use their signature weapons in order to be able to beat it within the time limit, and all of them had a hard time to clear it even with high investment. Keep in mind, the game only launched in the middle of last year. If difficulty keeps ramping up this aggressively, I'm worried that it will just become another Honkai Star Rail situation where new content is essentially designed for new characters and older rosters gets left behind. When it comes to power creep and HP inflation in gacha games, I think a little bit is fine. It gives people a reason to progress, to keep farming better echoes, and to continue improving their teams. But there is a limit, and I believe that limit should be based on the 5-star characters that are out since the start of the game. This isn't an FPS where a character can be patched down and replaced next season. These are characters that can cost a ton of money, and if rampant power creep makes them unusable in endgame within a few months of patches, that's a huge problem. I've seen so many games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Nikki, and a bunch more go down this exact same path and ruin the fun through stupid greedy decisions. I would love Kuro Games to give us another devs listen moment with real communication and willingness to fix these issues before they get out of hand. With that said, let me know in the comments what you think of all this. I would love to hear your perspective on where Wuthering Waves is heading. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're new around here. And as always, take care.